Your name isn't just a sound, it's instruction. Every letter is a blueprint of your assignment. YATAZAR means to form. And when we start breaking that down, Ya is hand, Taza is sharp, Ra is head. And here, when we start looking at the different meanings of the word, then we start, or the letters, then we can craft together a meaning. And here, one of those meanings could be crafted leaders of righteous pursuit. Crafted leaders of righteous pursuit. And that's what Yahweh said he did. Said he formed a nation. He crafted a nation of leaders beginning in the womb. Again, to me, that's highly powerful. And it is something that, we can't take for granted. We can't take it lightly. This relationship that Yahweh has with his people. In Genesis 2:7, then Yahweh formed the man of dust from the ground. So even in creation, the first man was formed. And as we saw in the previous passages, even YAIQAB, Jacob, he was formed. Two distinct beings formed by Yahweh. The first man, who he had a covenant relationship with, and the second man he created a covenant relationship with. Both formed by him. Any thoughts on being formed?
That's pretty deep. But yeah, the forming is definitely his design there's no error, in it. And so I think of just even when you look at the word there, when you break it down in the original Hebrew, there's it should point us to, anytime we think of the first, or the head, it should point us to him, and what the issue is with mankind is a lot of times we replace his head with our own head as far as our way of thinking, and that's where forming all of a sudden becomes, because we're created in his own image, and we're created to create and to form and to steward and to take dominion, and but it's all with him being the head. Once we start putting our heads before his, that's when evil starts becoming formed, so that's just something that I'm seeing, just even within the word, because that same Ra letter is in the word evil. And so yeah, that's just a whole different path there of kind of all over the place with that. But yeah, that's, if we're looking at it from the righteous pursuit, we always start with him. The head reminds us of who is head above, the head of days, as Enoch would put it.
Yeah. And it does become very interesting, obviously, when we start breaking down these words, letter by letter, because this particular crafted leaders of righteous pursuit, that's one way to phrase it. And that's the beauty of this language, because these letters have multiple meanings, and you can basically design these phrases around those meanings. And there are multiple phrases that you can get that essentially mean the same thing, but you can say it different ways. And by that, they probably have different levels of depth as well. Certainly not going into that here, but yeah, the letters are deep in and of themselves. So Yasharahla. Yasharahla is he who rules with Ahlahayam. And again, you start breaking these letters down. Ya is hand, Sha, teeth, Ra, head, Ah, ox, Ha, man, La, staff. So encrafted or handcrafted, empowered leaders revealing Yahweh's authority. You know, that's one definition that you can use for Yasharahla. And you know, this idea that we rule alongside him is only because, you know, it's not a rule of dictatorship. It's a rule of having the responsibility of sharing his word as a royal priesthood. That's what that's about. So, but again, these letters, they actually have meaning. And then when you combine them, you can craft these definitions of what the word means. And I don't think there's any other language that you can actually break them down, the words down, the letters down in this way. Now, there could be, I'm certainly not a linguist and know all languages, but so far, this is the only one that I've seen that you can do that.
I've never come across one either.
Yeah, no, I haven't done a deep look, but you know, it's possible there's some others, but I haven't seen it. It's all about words, defining words versus the individual letters that make up the word. So,
one thing, if it's all right if I add on this word here.
Yeah, please do.
So, one of the things that gets misconstrued when you start looking at Hebrew from a modern perspective, and all the Masoretes, their Nikud, and all this rabbinic additions to the language, a lot of people think of this word when they say Yisrael or Israel. They say he who prevails against the Most High, and they take that story of YAIQAB wrestling with the messenger. But I love how you broke this down to see the original meaning, because it doesn't show us anything that gives us this idea of man prevailing over the Most High. That's the biggest lie, and probably one of the things that leads a lot of people astray when they think of all the different schools of thought that come from modern day Israel. You know, is they've got the actual name wrong as far as what it means. There's no indication in the word that tells you you're going to prevail against the Most High. That's blasphemous, you know. But to see the correct meaning and seeing that we're supposed to reflect his rule, reflect his authority, we're in alignment with it. We're showing the rest of the nations who truly rules, you know. It allows us to be the Heavenly Father's upright prince, you know, because we're showing the rest of the nations how to be set apart, how to be upright, how to be in alignment with him. But this idea that we take over and prevail, you know, that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yes, it is. And, you know, I love what you're saying, because one of the things that's layered into that is that every letter builds a story. And there are those rabbinic teachings and so forth that to start the story. You know, we are people that are formed to reflect his hand, reflect his strength, reflect his purpose, reflect his instruction. And that's what this is doing. When you start looking at these letters, these definitions, it's a reflection of the Most High. And it builds a story. And when that story is distorted, then the true meaning is lost. So that's good. I love that addition. And something else with that addition is that the term Israel is certainly the most common term that's quote unquote, air quotes, supposed to be the chosen people, but they're not, because that word is not Yasharahla in the original language, in the Lashawan Qadash. That word doesn't exist. Israel doesn't exist. It's Yasharahla. And because the world has been tricked into believing that is the actual term that's used for the nation of chosen people, it gets lost. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier. It gets distorted, it gets lost. And that becomes an issue. So when we think about what we are called to do, we're called to represent the Most High. And there's only one nation that's called to do so. And the nation that's called Israel, they do not represent the same Most High. They do not represent the Most High. Judaism is a mix. When we think about it, it's not pure. Additionally, the people are not the right people. They're from the wrong lineage of Noah's lineage. They're from the wrong lineage. They're from Japheth and not from Shem. So everything gets mixed. Everything gets distorted when man takes on definitions that they should not, takes on role that they should not. So YAIQAB, follower, supplanter. He was supplanter because of his role in the womb. But when we start looking at what it means, grasping the heel, seeing the unseen, prophetic, timing and inheritance, one with vision and timing to secure the house, and that eye there, that symbol that looks like an eye, is really, it's about the horizon, the sun on the horizon. But that's the closest we got. So, but it's one with vision and timing to secure the house. And that's what YAIQAB, that's what he was really all about. He follows Yahweh, and he supplanted the one. This is why there was a battle in the womb. He supplanted the one who was not meant to be the leader of the chosen nation, and he became that chosen one. Any thoughts on YAIQAB? Any additional thoughts on him?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at the spelling of what his name means before it was changed, and seeing the connection. Yeah, and I had to check too, because I saw the I, and I was thinking the I is normally connected to the ayin, which would be the second letter. But yeah, you made that point that's the cough. But yeah, just seeing the original meaning, you know, it's pretty interesting of the story in the womb being implemented in that name. But the spiritual, the prophetic overlay, that part that you have there that says a prophetic overlay of inheritance through timing, and one with vision and timing to secure the house. You know, you can see how it's kind of a combination name that you have to put with Yasharahla, because the prophetic overlay and the inheritance through timing, the Yasharahla kind of completes that prophetic call and completes that timing. It's really Yasharahla, when you think about it, it's really an eternal name as far as what the set apart people is supposed to stand for. And so, and then anytime you think of the original Paleo-Hebrew house, the second letter in the alphabet, the Ba, you know, you're bringing this whole idea of an eternal dwelling back into the picture. So, yeah, to me, it's just cool to see the connection, even in just the letters of the Hebrew, the original Hebrew in these words, because you see the story, you see the connection, the story from the beginning to the end, even in just these two names, YAIQAB and Yasharahla. So yeah, I love it.
Yes, most definitely. I love the fact that you made that connection, because, you know, obviously YAIQAB, he was formed with this vision and of course the timing, but it was all about inheriting the promise. And that's the tie to Yasharahla, inheriting the promise. You know, and, you know, as a planter, you know, I'm not even sure that's should be the right word, but, you know, that's the word that's used. And maybe doing a little deeper study, maybe that's should be a different word, but because it makes it sound like he stole something, but he didn't steal it, he seized it. And there's a difference. He only seized what was meant for him,
yeah,
and him alone.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I think you're right on it. Supplanter doesn't really tell the story, because I can only imagine that when he's having conversations with his mother as a young child, he knows something he's supposed to take a hold of, you know? So maybe supplanter is a better word for that, is just holding on to a promise, because the Most High declared it from the womb. And you have to think that he knows, you know, he knows when he's being visited by that angel, or AKA messenger. He's like, I'm not letting go until you give me. You remember? I mean, I think that's how the story went. Yeah. He's like, I'm not letting go until you give me what's mine. I know this is mine. I know this is set in stone in the heavenly tablets. Kind of like, he had this confidence. And maybe him and his mom didn't go about it the best way, you know, with some of the stories of what it looks like, okay, yeah, they're deceiving Isaac to get the blessing, and, you know, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, the Heavenly Father established it from the womb, and he knew it, you know? So I feel like that's what we're seeing in that name, is he's grabbing it. He's holding on to, he's grasping the heel. It's more like he's grabbing on to the blessing that he knows is his.
Yeah, for sure. And that's probably way more accurate, because he knows, like you said, he knows it's his. And that's why he's seizing it, because it belongs to him. And the Most High placed that in him, right? So, yeah, for sure. So, Lashawan, and the prophetic layering of the language itself. And, we looked at these three words specifically: YATAZAR, or YATAZAR, Yasharahla, and YAIQAB. YATAZAR essentially is about purpose. Yasharahla is about authority. YAIQAB is about timing. And they all fit together perfectly. When we start looking at the story, start looking at the promise, the covenant, it all fits together perfectly. And so they're not just names, but they represent really a blueprint of how Yahweh's word, how his timing, how his destiny, the destiny he has for his chosen people, it's really a blueprint of how we arrive ultimately to a place with him in eternity. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's not just about what happens here in this space and time, in this present earth, but also it leads to eternity. And we talked about just a few slides back about the return, that he will return or regather, bring back the chosen nation. And in doing so, that's the eternity part. So this is all reflected in eternity. It is our DNA. It's Yasharah's DNA. It's built in. And there's a eternal connection that can never be broken, no matter what man does, no matter what the nations do, no matter what those who hate him, what they do, no matter what those who hate Yasharahla, no matter what they do, they can never break this eternal covenant with him. Thoughts on this layering?
Yeah, it's powerful. I love it. And like you said, it points to the eternal elements of what he's established. So, and anything that he sets up can't be refuted, can't be broken. So yeah, I love it.
No, it can't. Identity must become lifestyle. In the final episode, we walk through how to live set apart daily. Click the next episode.